Hi everybody, I'm here with Bevan Dufty, and he is the Director of Hope for the city of San Francisco. And I've spent the last 2 days with him, and I've just been blown away. We were in a transgender homeless services called Trans Thrive. My heart's like totally in a blender, messed up. Just met some gorgeous people. I heard you had something to do with this.
Yes.
And many of you know that it was about a year or two ago. We're at the library with the social workers.
Oh yeah, the social workers.
That was his fault too, where the library actually hired
They wanted to double their security budget, and I said, what about a couple of case managers?
Right. So it only makes sense that the new mayor would put you
front and
center in homelessness.
Yes.
And instead of being the stereotypical homeless czar, you asked.
I said I wanted to be the director of hope. I said I wanted, in a city like San Francisco, where a lot of people don't believe we're doing a good job addressing homelessness, or don't believe that we can make a difference in ending homelessness, whether it's for veterans, whether it's for transgendered people, whether it's for families. So I wanted to be aspirational, and I've been loving it. It's just been a few weeks, and I'm really loving what this opportunity gives me.
I'm totally honored that you would embrace me, and that they invited me. I was speaking at N10, and they came up early. He connected me with Google, and I returned and connected him with Twitter. We really believe we're kindred spirits, that technology can be used to really fight homelessness and poverty. And that's exciting in many ways.
It really is.
Especially to me, Twitter engaged the conversation. Twitter actually invited us. We didn't reach out to them. But, you're prepared for this because I asked it earlier. San Francisco is kind of this weird city in the fact that you have all these homeless people, but you're known as this very progressive city, almost lefty, that yet, why is there so much homelessness? Then you have these, sit in line law.
It was a measure on the ballot last year.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So here you have, I don't know one community now in the United States and probably all over that doesn't do a Homeless Connect Day, which has started here. That means, it's cutting edge, first time, I have all services in one place. And then you're passing laws to make it illegal to be homeless. It doesn't make sense to me.
Right. No, I think it's a good point, Mark, and I think that sometimes we need that outside perspective to let us see what isn't working. And in San Francisco, I think we have amazing organizations that are doing work that is being emulated around the country, and I think that we have culturally competent work, and what you're seeing here is a city that really embraces its transgender community, and that there are laws on the books that prohibit discrimination against transgendered individuals. We're here at Trans Thrive, which really started out as a research grant to UCSF, and there were politics and bad blood between the researcher and UCSF. The researcher left, and this grant was about to be given back to the federal government, and I stepped in when I was on the board of supervisors and said, can't we look at this? What's the potential that we can do to provide these services? I didn't care about the research aspect of it. I cared about the fact that people had come to rely on coming to a safe place where they could have food and have peer support and have access to clothing and have support just in how one is presenting oneself. And we were able to get the grant continued, and then we lost the money. They didn't renew the grant, but we picked it up at the city level. But I do want to say, to the political point that you make, is that there are dichotomies in San Francisco, and I think that many people who are homeless, or maybe are queer or transgendered, come to San Francisco because they know that this is a city that prides itself on being a diverse community. And yet, and still at the same time, just like other cities, there are ways in which we approach homelessness that aren't smart and don't embrace the technology of the 21st century and don't use basic things that we could access on the web, and instead have wildly complicated systems where people have to sign up for affordable housing at 20 different places, or wait 10 years on an AIDS housing waiting list, which is crazy. And there are all these things that can be done better, and what I marvel at in your work is it gives us an opportunity to say, why can't we embrace things that people use in everyday life, such as tweeting, to let people know where there are shelter beds that they can go to that night. And I think it's very powerful.
One of the things that's and many of you know I support 100,000 Homes and Home for Good, and the communities where the faith-based, the nonprofits, the businesses, and the government all work together, because that's the only way. You're never going to sing kumbaya, but forget your differences, pool your resources, and I like to say it this way, let's punch homelessness in the throat. Mm-hmm. But you're telling me that you, City of San Francisco, you have 225 high risk.
Right. Highest users of multiple systems are chronic street inebriates, right?
Right. And you're spending $13 million.
$13.5 million on the top 225
every year,
right.
And that's your community too. I mean, you might not have a community as big as San Francisco, or maybe you have it bigger, but you know what I mean? It costs money to keep people out on the streets.
Right.
Now, you guys are looking into some harm reduction models.
Yes, and I think harm reduction is the way to go. You and I agree about that. And Seattle has a program, 1811 Eastlake, which has provided for 7 years, 75 beds in a new building that was developed. And in the first year, they saved $4 million, just not having individuals cycle from shelter to sobering center to ambulances, not having people ferried around by 4 or 5 paramedic trips a day. And so our mayor is going with me and a couple of our department heads, and we're going to go visit 1811 Eastlake, and I'm hopeful that very close to where we are right now, that we're going to have an opportunity to open what I think is going to be a great harm reduction facility that's going to do so much better. And you know what? It's great for the individuals because they can safely live, not risk tripping and falling and spending $150,000 in emergency room. But it's actually even better for the cops because they can do something humane for somebody to help somebody that really is addicted to alcohol have a safe place. And the research studies have shown that over the 7 years that the average resident has reduced their alcohol consumption by 40%, even though they're allowed to drink as much as they want.
And you have other crises. We toured another facility today that I was very impressed that they had mental health beds.
Yeah.
That's a huge crisis, and we need more mental health out there. But their case managers keep getting cut and cut, and now it's like 8 people to 1,400 or something, and they're even at risk of being cut.
No, I think it had gone, they had as many as 12 to a population of 400, and I think it was down to something like 5 for a population of like 12 or 1,300.
Right, it's crazy.
And we heard that even today in the discussion, where here at Trans Thrive, and there were many agencies that were represented that are working with the transgender population, but someone said, if I'm told I can only work with someone for an hour, and it's not like the sitcoms you used to run, right? Every story doesn't resolve itself with a happy ending in 30 minutes or an hour, and that's a challenge that we have, and hopefully with the growth of the economy. But that's my message is about outcomes, is we have to look, where are we making the investments and what outcomes are we showing, and that's what's going to guide us to changing the system.
There's another thing that we're in total agreement on. Well, first off, he's trying to Shanghai me up here, or hoodwink me, or whatever.
I'm creating a whole new job.
He's pitching to the tech.
I want a tech laureate.
Okay.
So our city has a poet laureate, and I want the tech companies to endow a position and have somebody that can really help us figure out how to apply all these tech titans in San Francisco.
But where we really agree on, we agree on a lot of stuff, is that we need more color and we need more diversity in the tech community.
Yes. As I always say, you don't have to be black to have a black agenda. So I definitely have walked into some tech companies with you this week and said, anybody black work here?
Yeah, and here it is, again, where you have the marginal populations, and that can be whether it be gay or transgendered or low income or whatever. And we teach them how to be dishwashers. You know what I mean? We give them a food service certificate. We need to start teaching computer science, and we need to start programmers and giving them into engineering and lucrative jobs. So anyways, we've gone way too long, but I could talk to you forever. Thank you very much. I met the mayor, I got the insider, went to a city.
To the board of supervisors and saw a very controversial vote on counterterrorism. You've done it all, baby.
Yeah, this has been an interesting trip, so thank you very much.
Well, you deserved an e-ticket ride to San Francisco. We've tried to provide it.